Last time on the WizardCast.
So how's that disaster plan? Okay, I'm clear. Coming along, Brian. We only have 3 episodes left before episode Disaster 100.
It's going great. I'm going to have that completed plan any time now.
Okay, that was a kind of an odd way you said that. Are you working on the plan? Don't tell me you outsourced it.
Of course not, Mark. I wouldn't hand this off to an intern or someone else who doesn't understand our organization or process.
Okay, what did you do?
Well, I was talking to Peter Coffey at Midwest Streaming this year, and it hit me. Artificial intelligence. Machine learning. Computers will do it faster and better than I ever could.
Well, that's probably very true. What did you do? Did you give Einstein 1,000 different disaster plans and have him determine the best fit for us?
Better. I had some pan-dimensional beings from beyond the 5th dimension and Nebula 9 build a stupendous quantum computer. It runs on jalapenos.
Jalapenos.
It's called Profound Notion.
Well, this all sounds very Douglas Adams, Brian.
Oh, Profound Notion. Do you have the answer?
The answer for you?
Yes.
Yes, I have one. Although I don't think you're going to like it.
What is the answer?
All right, but don't say I didn't warn you. The answer to the great question, the disaster plan for the WizardCast, is 42.
42?
It was a tough assignment.
That makes perfect sense. We just go back to episode 42, you know? Life, the universe, and Peter Coffey. We're saved, Marked. Saved!
We're screwed.
And now the conclusion of the WizardCast.
I'm Brian Kwong.
And I'm Mark Ross.
We're Salesforce experts that love talking about technology and Salesforce.
We also love humor. Doesn't mean we're actually good at it.
In the Salesforce community, I'm known as the Salesforce Wizard, likely due to me wearing a wizard hat at Salesforce events.
And I'm known as Salesforce Yoda for pretty much the same reason.
You should see the ears.
We have a passion to help educate and entertain people.
So we've joined forces to create WizardCast.
We've got tips and best practices.
We talk with interesting people.
All mixed with quote-unquote jokes and humor.
Welcome to the WizardCast. I got some new pants yesterday, and then I realized they didn't fit me around the waist. So I tried finding my belt, but I couldn't find one. So I had a really good idea. I attached a ton of watches together to make a belt. Didn't work. My pants still fell down.
Well, that sounds like a waste of time. God, I can't believe you made me say that. That was a waste of my... Can we move on past this part?
Sure. Do you remember, Mark, when we had that tongue-in-cheek statement about needing a new segment because Salesforce keeps acquiring more companies?
Yeah, why do you ask?
Well, it's time for What is Salesforce Buying Now?
What is Salesforce? What is Salesforce? What is Salesforce buying now? At the start of August, it was announced that Salesforce is acquiring Click Software for $1.35 billion.
And this is shortly on the heels of purchasing Tableau back in June for, what was it, like 15 billion?
I don't remember.
Something crazy.
I'm not allowed to remember it.
You're not allowed to remember. No one's allowed to remember. For Click Software, it's speculating that the reason they purchase it is to help Salesforce compete with Microsoft in field services.
Right. So let me see if I get this right. Click Software, they do scheduling and optimization intelligently for field service. But Salesforce with Field Service Lightning, they focus more on the dispatching and mobile side of things. So they actually provided an example of how Click Software and Field Service Lightning are going to work. When a mobile employee gets delayed by traffic, then a dispatcher can actually quickly route another technician to the job who's out in the field. So that customer's appointment actually doesn't get delayed.
Which sounds potentially useful
Pretty
and
cool.
interesting. Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Kind of wish my cable company did something like that.
Well, then they need Salesforce Field Service Lightning.
Salesman. I know just enough about Field Service Lightning to know how much I don't know about it.
Yeah, same.
So this could be a really great topic for future episode if we
Hint,
can.
PMs.
Yeah, find someone who knows what they're talking about to talk about this. So listeners, if you want to hear more about field service lightning, you can tweet or leave comments on our website or Facebook pages.
And of course, we have links to the various articles that have talked about this in the show notes.
It's a very special episode today because we have not one, but two guests. We're joined by Jennifer Sacks, Senior Director of Customer and Market Insights, and Scott Allan, Senior Manager of Roadmap Communications, which is a really cool title. And they're both from Salesforce. And you may have heard of them because Jennifer and Scott have been traveling the world talking about the changes coming to IdeaExchange. So we got a lot to talk about, so we'll just dive right in. Welcome, Jennifer and Scott, to the WizardCast.
Welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
So I think we have to start because there may be a few people who don't know what this is. But what is IdeaExchange? And what's the big deal about it?
Yeah, well, I think that's a great place to start for the uninitiated. So the IdeaExchange at its simplest level is our always-on platform for any customer in the Salesforce ecosystem to provide feedback on our products and solutions. So we let anybody with a username, password on Salesforce log in, tell us what they want to see in the product, and the community crowdsource and votes up the things that matter to them most. So we launched it in 2006, and we've seen a lot of amazing progress and co-innovation. So the entire spirit of the IdeaExchange is shared innovation, that we're doing this with our customers. So in those nearly 13 years since we launched the IdeaExchange, we've put about 3,000 new features on our roadmap. We actually just refreshed that stat with our latest release that went out. We've had about 1.9 million votes cast by our community, which is amazing to see the groundswell of people engaging. We average about 700,000 visitors a month, which is amazing.
Wow.
1.8 million page views. So we get a lot of traffic there. And it's really a channel for the community to help shape our roadmap, which is something that we feel passionately about and want to make sure that we continue to create a place for our customers to tell us what's most important. So that's what the IdeaExchange is. Do you want to get into sort of why it's a big deal now, why we're talking about it now?
Yeah, that was exactly going to be my question of, is it like, okay, great, you got billions of people. By the way, I really would like to put AdSense on the IdeaExchange. Just, I got college to pay for. That aside, it seems like it's been gaining traction lately, that there's been a lot of talk about the IdeaExchange, and you're here to tell us about some of the changes. But it's 13 years old, so it must have been working perfectly, because I don't think there's been a major update to IdeaExchange in a decade. So why now? I mean, it must be perfect.
Yeah, no, I don't think there are any perfect solutions ever. There's no such thing as a perfect product, ours included. And over the last year, it's been a really interesting set of conversations. So members of our community last year really came forward and started to loudly and correctly hold us accountable for not engaging in the IdeaExchange in the way that we had. And we launched the IdeaExchange. Originally, we were collecting feedback via support cases. And 11,000 cases a month later, we decided we needed to do something different, and the IdeaExchange was born. And we're at a similar inflection point now where we have 65,000 ideas. We get 50 to 100 new ones every month, and we're struggling to scale. And so the community picked up on that we were challenged with keeping up with our growth as a company, with the scale of the IdeaExchange, with the scale of our growing ecosystem and community. And instead of being upfront about our struggles, I think we tried to cover them. We tried to keep going with patches and Band-Aids and that kind of thing. And it was really great, actually, when Steve Mollis, shout out to Steve for rallying the troops, sort of held us accountable very publicly and said, you're not living up to your commitment. You're not living up to the promise of the community that you created. And we are frustrated and we're annoyed. And so we were able to use that as a catalyst to take a step back and say, are we doing the right things? Is this still the tool, the process, the program that we need to be successful? And it turned out, no, it wasn't. It wasn't what we needed to move into the next round of growth. We launched with, we had 2 clouds at the time. I mean, we were just launching Chatter. It was still even in development. To give you a perspective of where we were then, we had a much smaller community of product managers, a much smaller community of customers. We now have, 10 product clouds, industry solutions, SMB solutions. We continue to launch new things, and our community has grown so rapidly. And so we need to be building a program and a platform for collecting and actioning that feedback that scales with that growth and onward. So that's really what we've been focused on over the last year now. It's been almost a year. We really should have had a cake or some type of anniversary celebration for Steve's original post. But we have spent the last year really talking to our community and asking tough questions of ourselves, of our product managers, of our community, with how do we continue to innovate together in a way that scales to be inclusive of all products, all voices, all perspectives across our community. So that's why we've been on this amazing roadshow that Scott has planned. We've been to 4 continents now, 20 cities, something like that.
3 to go.
3 to go. We still have more. We're not
3
done.
3 cities or 3 continents?
3 continents.
Okay, just clarifying.
Yeah.
If anybody is going to host the first Antarctica Dreaming, let us know. We will come.
We're there.
Probably be mostly.
You might get a frosty reception.
Oh, that was a good dad joke.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so you've been on the road listening to our customers and building the new product with them and the new program with them. So that's been really fun and exciting and refreshing to let customer feedback lead how we collect customer feedback.
I think it's very interesting that you're actually obviously there was a little bit of joke to it, but I know that it's not really a joke, talking about having a cake, celebrating the 1-year anniversary of it was essentially a condemnation,
a tongue lashing.
Yeah,
as an idea, which I thought was great.
It's very meta, but that's kind of the thing is that is the sort of thing that shakes the world, and those things. Well,
that's the kind of thing that shakes the world when people listen.
Yeah, and those sort of things, they might hurt, but they should be celebrated, and I that's great that you're doing that.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway that I've had, so my entire job at Salesforce is customer listening. So that includes the IdeaExchange, includes a number of other channels. So I really feel strongly about making sure that the customer voice comes in, even when it's not positive. And that my biggest anxiety, I know the team shares this, is not when we're getting yelled at or when people are saying, you suck or you're not listening or you don't care about our feedback. It's when you stop talking to us at all. So the fact that we have a community that trusts us enough to say that loudly, and that we have that relationship where we can say, we take this in the spirit that it was meant, which is they want to shape Salesforce. We want them to shape Salesforce. So let's use this as a springboard to have a conversation, even when it's hard, even when we have to be saying we can't do everything right away. It's going to take us some time to right the ship. I'm just thankful that we have that relationship with the community, that we can do that, and that it's a positive set of interactions as opposed to a fight, because it could have gone in a not so great way had we not all brought our most constructive selves to leaning into that feedback. So I thank Steve. When I say it's a celebration, I really mean it. It also lit a fire amongst our product leadership about how much we value the customer voice, and that, the community has always kept us on the right path, and not just this way, but in lots of other ways. And so, yeah, there should be a cake. We should send cakes to all of the many continents we visited and say thank you for giving us the chance to do it again and do it right and grow this experience together.
Well, I believe Steve will prefer an IPA. But,
we'll send him some Pliny from, when is that in season? It's a rare beer, but we'll send him some.
You'll drink it. So are we talking about a technology change? Are you just changing the technology that's running the IdeaExchange, or is it more than that?
It's definitely more than that. It's a product as much as it is a program. So we want to create good ways for people to provide feedback, to get updates on feedback, that transparency, and that's all through the site. That's all through the experience where you log in and you're looking at ideas and logging or commenting or contributing, but it really doesn't mean much. What's unique about the IdeaExchange versus other areas of the community is it's really a dialogue between Salesforce and the community, meaning we need to take some action. So getting feedback through a product is great, but having the program behind it to action that feedback, that's actually where we focused the majority of our efforts. And we've been piloting for the last couple of release cycles this concept of prioritization, which Scott will talk a lot more about. But we really look at it as how do we make sure that we feed this feedback into the organization thoughtfully, make sure it's part of their planning, and that we can deliver action on it. So
what about communication coming out? Because I know one of the frustrations I've always had was you would get something posted to the IdeaExchange. It might get really popular, get tons of points. Like, it hit that magic 2,500 points, and then it gets marked as product team reviewed. And then months, and in some cases years, will go by with nothing. No comment, no feedback.
Or maybe a comment, and it's kind of a boilerplate. Didn't really answer anything.
Like, yes, we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then more months go by. So, are you doing anything to help change the process that's coming through with those ideas to make sure that things get communicated back out to the people who are saying, hey, I want this?
Well, I think what we're trying to achieve with this new prioritization piece through the technology, but also the program, is to drive some consistency as to when Salesforce is communicating back to the community on the different ideas. As we've talked about, like, the community has grown, the products have grown, so has our product management community. And so we've got a lot of new folks that are interacting with ideas. And so what we're trying to do is tie their communication back to the community to what they're doing naturally all throughout the year through release planning. So through these pilot rounds, we've actually been assembling a pilot group of product managers and having them go down the list, from the top of the IdeaExchange, and go down the list and figure out what are ideas that their teams could actually start to work on in the next development cycle. Or if they can't work on them, then actually add a comment so that they can articulate to the community whether, hey, this is something that they'd love to do, but just can't do at the moment because there's some dependencies that need to line up before they can actually start working on it. Or the other thing we're asking them to do is just get better about saying no and putting a comment as to, hey, you know what, we're never going to do this. Maybe it's something that's just not strategically aligned with where this product is going. Maybe it's something that would violate our trust principle. But we're challenging them to not be afraid to say no. And say no, but actually provide a reason why. You always got a great way of saying that, Jenny.
The community plans based on what we do. And we plan our roadmaps together. So I know that there are people in the ecosystem who say, I'm going to invest in this solution. And then if we roll out the same solution 6 months later, that's time and money wasted. So, as you heard Scott talking about, it's holding the product managers accountable, not just for building the features the community wants, but communicating back about what we're doing, how we're taking action. So Scott has been leading a charge to have our product managers kind of go down the list and just provide updates and really working with them on what a meaty, explanatory update really looks like. So we used to have a solution where it was like, oh yeah, we're thinking about it. Thanks. We'll get back to you in a quarter. Those days are gone. It's now the days of here's why we're not thinking about it, or here's why it's blocked, or what we're working on. And I think that we have to strike the right balance of how much do we tell the community without overwhelming people. But that we want to err on the side of transparency, and that's really sponsorship from Parker and Brett to be more transparent, to be more open, because we never have the community get mad at us when we tell them why or explain it. We have them get mad or frustrated, justifiably so, when we go quiet, when we go dark.
I don't know about that. I think when I've been told no a couple times from product managers, I still got mad, but I understood why they said no.
You can't have a pony, Brian.
Right. Thank you for bringing that up. When the tip-top product manager basically tells you, no, Brian, you're not going to get your pony, live with it, it's going to be okay, you kind of go, fine, I'm still not happy, but fine, I understand. But you're right. I would much rather have someone tell me outright no than wonder what's going on. Is this happening? Is this not happening? Are you not looking at this at all? Am I being ignored? Or is it something that you could do, but you really don't want to do?
One approach will make you upset in the short term. The other approach will make you upset in the long term.
Yes, that's a good way to differentiate. Yeah, we want to strive to make people mad for a short period of time, not a lengthy period of time.
I wouldn't put that on a bumper sticker or anything.
Yeah, we'll put that on T-shirts. Short-term anger. That's our goal. That's our success metric.
I'm expecting a T-shirt now at Dreamforce. I hope you know that.
Yes, we'll print one just for you.
It's going to be an expensive T-shirt.
Yeah, people are going to be like, "What does this mean?" I'll be like, "Listen to the podcast. You got to be in the family to know."
There we go.
yeah, I think we want to just be having more of those conversations. And sometimes we're going to make the community mad. And sometimes they're going to say, this isn't the right call. But that should also open up a dialogue. We should be able to have a dialogue about, this is our position. This is what we think. This is what we know. Now counter us, push back. And that's why, we want to bring the product into this century so that it can support more of that rich dialogue at scale. And right now it's just a mess of like, a stream of consciousness comments and a lot of the +1, I like this, or Salesforce, we hate you. And there's not a lot of good dialogue happening, both Salesforce to the community, but also the community amongst each other. And so that's where I think the product and the program meet, is enabling good ways to communicate out where we are, what we're doing, what we're focusing on, and allowing there to be some response to that, and that we have that be a rich exchange. I mean, that's why it's the idea exchange, not just the suggestion box.
You know what would be a good trailhead? We should ask for a trailhead regarding how to provide constructive comments on the Idea Exchange.
There you go.
Right? What type of information do you put in a comment that's going to make a PM actually listen?
Yeah, or how to log an idea.
Yeah.
They run the gamut. We love all ideas, like we love all of our children, but sometimes they're not always as full featured as we need them to be. Scott's heard me say this.
Your children.
I've met putting in a couple ideas that I realized after I hit the submit button that, that wasn't fleshed out enough, but I've already hit submit. It's too late.
Yeah, well, maybe we should give you an edit capability. That would be just mind-blowing. But yeah, my favorite idea of all time just says, make the marketing cloud better. I'm like, wow. You either could nail that or never ever nail it. It's a very broad, ambiguous idea, but I love that somebody was like, this is my idea. This is what I'm
that sounds like a general frustration idea, right?
Yeah.
Like there's definitely a number of those out on the Idea Exchange where people are just frustrated with how the platform's performing or not performing.
What about, and this is just random idea, what about having something on the Idea Exchange that is purpose designed for the airing of grievances?
Oh, okay. Talk to me more. What would airing of grievances be?
This is a thing like exists in Chatter, right? Within Order 62, it is essentially a group where people are like, I'm not happy about this, and they're just posting in Chatter. And I don't know if this is a good idea for Idea Exchange or not. I don't know. Maybe I should make an idea.
Put it up to the community, see what they say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Twitter is kind of airing of grievances now that I think about it, but
it is. But I like the idea of, a community space where people could just vent some frustration. I think sometimes we struggle with how long should an idea live? Certain ideas, there isn't quite a finish line necessarily, or it isn't clear what the finish line is. So it sits there for a while, and so maybe a space to allow for more of that just general Salesforce, here's what I want you to think about. It may not necessarily be a specific product feature, but an idea like make the Idea Exchange better, which is what Steve logged. Like, I don't know that we'll ever actually be able to close that, because there will always be things that we can fix and make better. So yeah, that's a great example of, we want to create spaces for general frustration and feedback and commentary and what's working and not working.
Well, I would imagine Salesforce will want to have a place for general grievances, because that's an opportunity to reach out and say, okay, you said that Marketing Cloud needs to work better. Why do you say that? What is not working for you? What is your use case? Because a lot of people, like I said, they don't know how to formulate an idea or a comment in such a way that is fully fleshed out, and they're just frustrated. And by having a place that is maybe separate from a list of what you actually want to have done in the Idea Exchange to just generally complain, may give some way to be able to say, hey, that's great, tell me more.
Yeah, as long as it's interactive and that doesn't just become a bathroom stall wall,
For a good roadmap, call Scott at
I'm going to change my number.
I will definitely be posting, anytime anybody gets annoyed, I'll post Scott's number rather than my own.
Okay. So there's some process and there's some technology things coming. When are we talking about? What's changing and when?
So what have the team working on right now is the new functionality to support the prioritization process, meaning 3 times a year ahead of when the product teams go into release planning, we're asking them to put together that list of ideas that they could actually start to work on and then have the community prioritize that list. So that's what we've been doing manually back in January and May with just some simple feedback survey technology. But what we're working on now to launch a Dreamforce is to actually facilitate that process as part of the IdeaExchange site. So we'll come up with this list of ideas that the teams can start working on. And then what we're going to do is give each user a bucket of 100 coins to apply against the ideas that matter most to them. So if they really want one idea to get a lot of attention from the teams, they could throw all 100 coins on that one idea or spread those coins out across multiple ideas. But it's really a way to signal, hey, what matters most now? Because we have a lot of ideas that have a lot of votes that are at the top of that list, but they may have gotten that way just because they are, have been around for a long time. So what we're really challenging the community to do is say, hey, give us a really, point in time snapshot as to what the team should focus on in the upcoming release, thereby bridging, the always on feedback that we're getting via the IdeaExchange and what the product managers are actually doing with release planning.
So there's going to be a list of ideas that the product manager provides. How many ideas are we talking about on a list? Is there a magic number?
It varies, but we're trying to get at least a couple ideas per product area, per cloud.
How are those ideas really being vetted? I mean, like you said, there's thousands, tens of thousands of ideas right now in the IdeaExchange. So how are the product managers do they have like complete free choice to select what ideas to pull off of there for the prioritization list? Or is there some sort of guidance that, no, you need to look at this subset to choose from?
Yeah, I think that's been the interesting part about doing the pilot rounds of this, is going through that exercise with the teams. We're starting with the top, starting with the ones that have the most votes. And as we go down that list, we're really trying to ask the hard questions of, if this is something they feel they can't do, why, and be able to explain it really well. And that's where we want to flex that muscle of getting comfortable communicating that, via the comments and status updates. But, unless, there's a blocker, some dependencies that's not lining up, or it's one of those ones that they aren't going to do, we're really encouraging them to put it on the list. Even if it's something big and meaty, if it takes a lot of effort, we want to signify that and indicate, hey, this may take multiple releases to actually deliver, but let's put it out to the community. Would you rather have us start to work on these big things that'll take a while, or there's smaller things that you want us to pick up faster and deliver in maybe 1 or 2 releases?
I could see people thinking, skeptical people thinking like, oh, they're only going to cherry pick the things that they want to work on, or they're going to seek out the easy ones, and that's partly where our team plays a role in being that objective voice on behalf of the community to really push our product managers to say, it may not be the thing you're most excited to work on, or it may be kind of a pain to develop this feature, but we're really holding you accountable for it. There needs to be a good reason why we wouldn't start development on it. And that being something like it has a dependency that needs to be cleared, or, as Scott said, it's not aligned strategically to our roadmap, not just I'm a product manager that doesn't want to work on it. And the good part of this is that we've seen product managers actually get excited about participating in this exercise. So if there's a perception that PMs don't want to do this, or they don't want their features to win, it's the opposite. It's really, as we re-energize the community participation, we're also re-energizing the product managers and really helping them think about their roadmaps, and that they can get community validation or, input on their decisions. And that's exciting to them. So we've also had product managers say, can I put something on the list? Can I add something that I've heard through other channels or other sources of feedback from the community to see if it's still something that's important to them? So that's been a really interesting exercise, and also important for our team to play the role of sort of asking the questions on your behalf, which is like, okay, this is the number 3 idea of all time. Why aren't we working on it? Let's talk about it. And that our goal is to be transparent with you in those reasons as well. Because those conversations have happened over the years. We just haven't been good about telling you the outcomes or the whys behind you seeing some of those ideas sit up there forever. So you're going to see us kind of try to burn down some of the top ideas and see if they're still really important to you. But we're asking the community to essentially put their product manager hat on. And every release, they have resources to play with. How do they want to spend it? And that is, really bringing them into our agile development process much earlier than they ever have been. with the goal of giving them the chance to really influence and shape what we're doing. So it's been fun to do the pilot exercises to learn. Our teams become experts in game theory on just like all the various ways the community looks at these things and how they think about allocating coins to different ideas. So it's been great for us to iterate our model, and we'll continue to iterate. But it allows them to sort of be PM for a day with our roadmap.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you're making them kind of go down the list from the highest votes down and provide feedback if it's not hitting a prioritization list. Like I've gone to a lot of the True to the Core sessions at Dreamforce over the years, and they always start the session with, here's the number of idea points we were retiring based on releases, and which is great, but I would readily admit that the cynic in me was like, yeah, and how many of those were already going to be planned by the PM anyways?
Yeah, and some of them are things that just happen to line up, like the PM thinks about it and, oh yeah, the community's asked for it. You will continue to see organic idea delivery. So in the most recent releases, we're still delivering features. In summer 19, 50 ideas were retired, about 145,000 points. In winter 20, around 30 ideas. So that's not going to stop. We still want to encourage the product managers to find those areas where there's good synergy already. But we also want to carve out this channel for you to add things to our list, for you to say, this is what we want, even if it doesn't align with what you were going to work on this release, or, it may not be the thing that you think is top of mind, but for us, it's top of mind right now in this release that we're planning for. So you'll see sort of both things live in parallel, the community-driven features and the still organic retirement of ideas over time.
Do you have metrics or how you're going to measure whether this is being successful? Is there anything like hardcore, like you're expecting to see increase of points being retired from release to release as you're going down the list, or an increased number of ideas being retired?
I would say that our metrics are really focused on that every single release, a subset of features, are directly sourced from the community, so directly sourced from that prioritization exercise. So that's essentially carving out a portion of our release that the community dictates, which is a more concrete deliverable than previous years where it was sort of, we're going to retire things and we weren't always transparent about how we picked what we were retiring. So this is really that direct line. And Brett's message, Brett Taylor, our Chief Product Officer, for those who may not know, his message has been, if it wins, it's in. And so that's what, we're starting to see as we move through a couple of cycles, that the things that you vote up to the top, assuming there are no immediate blockers that are surprises to us, move into development. So that's really our metric for success. And we'll continue to push that for more and more portion of the release to be allocated to the community. But that's really how we're defining success. Are there features that we can trace back to the community voice directly and their input, as opposed to points, or because those are artificial things depending on what we're retiring, and how long it's been on the IdeaExchange and how many points it's accumulated. So it's really just that direct line from community input to features delivered to the product.
Now, there are going to be things that get released, I'm assuming, because this has always been the case, that there are going to be things that are released that are not necessarily the highest point earners. There always have been, right? And there's always been this kind of somewhat vocal contingent of the community who has said, there's an item up there that has 6,000 points. Why did this 30-point item make it in? And I know full well there are very good reasons for that. But could you address, what are all those potential reasons that an item may or may not make it in despite the points, so that people have an understanding and maybe don't quite get to anger so easily when these smaller items make it in?
I think there's a variety of reasons as to why you see different ideas with different points get delivered. I think one of the things when we started this process is we just started to look at the top 50 ideas on the list. And what we found out is that was doing a disservice to some of the clouds that haven't existed for as long, or maybe don't have as large of a user base. So we're actually encouraging, diversity of ideas and the diversity of point ranges to actually be addressed, because a small point total may be one of the top ideas within the search area or one of our smaller clouds. So I think for one reason, you'll see some of those ideas getting put through this prioritization process that may not be at the top of the overall list, but may be at the top of that particular product area. And then, like we talked about before, I think, we have our product managers looking at these ideas. And so they may find ones that are similar or aligned to things that they're already thinking about. And so it just makes sense for them to, take in that community feedback as part of some of the things that they were thinking of and really run with that idea, even if it's not at the top of the IdeaExchange overall or even at the top of their list for their product area.
I would also add level of effort. Ideas are all different levels of complexity. And if you look at the site right now, there's no indication of level of effort for any of those things. So dependent page layouts is the number one idea of all time, undelivered idea of all time right now. That required, the introduction of Lightning and the componentry model that we use on Lightning pages in order to allow us to do dependent page layouts. But it also takes a lot of work across the platform to make sure it shows up universally against all objects. And so that's a massive idea that's going to take multiple releases. And compare that to something like Lightning Recycle Bin, which is lower down on the list in terms of pure votes, but is something that's easier for us to fit into a single release. So the product managers are constantly weighing sort of priority, resources, budget, timing, all those kinds of things, and making those trade-offs. And those have always been the trade-offs that we're making. What we're trying to do is bring more of that transparency so that when we say, we pulled up a list for prioritization this cycle and you're not seeing ideas 4, 5, and 6 on the total, vote totals in terms of rank there, because of these reasons, but you're going to see these other areas reflected or other priorities because level of effort's a little cleaner, the path to deliver it's cleaner. The great thing about Salesforce is you can do a lot and there's a lot of flexibility, but that also means that there's a lot of cross-cloud dependencies, a lot of intricacies that make it hard to deliver certain features. So in addition to what Scott said, all of those things, level of effort and complexity are other things. And we should tell you more about that, but that's partly why you see sort of lower level ideas get delivered faster than some higher total ideas.
So there's been a lot of we should be doing this and we need to do this. What can you tell us is actually happening, particularly like in the short term?
Yeah, so in the short term, some things that you hopefully will have seen, or if you're new to the IdeaExchange, go and check them out. We've been putting hopefully meaty, thoughtful updates on the top 50 ideas for every single cloud. So going through and really trying to make sure we're addressing some of that feedback that's felt like it's languished. And, I'm going to set expectations that not every update's going to be perfect. And we want the community to continue to tell us more of this, less of this, or I don't understand this piece of it, because we're trying to, in some cases, explain very complex reasoning in a format that doesn't allow for discussion necessarily. So we want to get feedback from that. So burning on the top 50, we are cleaning up statuses. So Scott and team have been leading an effort around, we have all these statuses that are really confusing. So people don't know what to expect. Product team review is a big one. Like, what does that mean? What are you doing? I have no clarity on what we're actually achieving by unlocking that level. So we're trying to really narrow so all the statuses have a clear destination, what they mean, and how that fits into what you can expect from an idea as far as update. We're doing those rounds of prioritization. Scott, do you want to talk about the next round and what to expect there?
Yeah, we have our last manual round of prioritization that we're asking, through September 22nd, folks to take a look at yet another prioritization list, help us prioritize it, and that'll impact what the teams work on when they start to work on the summer 20 release. And so this will be the last one that we do manually before we actually facilitate this exercise in the new year, actually as part of the IdeaExchange.
You're saying people can start participating in the prioritization now?
Yes.
As in today, September 9th through the 22nd, they can do it literally now.
Now.
So everyone's going to pause the podcast and they're going to go to prioritize those ideas. Where would they go?
Probably the easiest way to do it is to go to ideas.salesforce.com, click on that banner, and that'll take you to our Trailblazer community chatter post that'll give you all the details about how to do it. Again, it's a little manual right now, but we've got our chatter group loaded up with information on how to prioritize.
And so I think we talked about a little bit that they basically are X many coins that people will have, and they can essentially spend the coins on the ideas.
They will. Not yet, though. Right now, we're just doing a simple stack rank given the tool that we're using. But yes, in the future, we'll have that coin model where you can apply 100 coins against the ideas you like the most.
Yeah, and that's coming at Dreamforce. So last time we'll do it manually. So you talked about things in the short term. At this point, I feel like we've been talking about this platform now for a year, but it's like it's coming. It's coming in November. So we'll start to do that on the site as a sort of a short term launch. We're excited about that and really expanding it to the broader community. So still be a stack rank for this exercise. And there's also a portion in that exercise that allows you to give us feedback on the exercise, what you like, what you don't like. So we use that to keep refining the model, making sure we're taking in feedback as we go. And the other short-term thing we're doing is we're starting to deliver features that the community has prioritized. So summer included some of the first features that the community selected following our first round of manual prioritization. And sort of from every release here on out, you will see pieces of product delivered based on what the community said was most important to them. So I think that's ultimately the end goal, right? Is product that you want and that you've said is most important. So that's the other thing that you'll be seeing trickling out in releases. So check out the release notes. We also do blog posts and communication on the ideas themselves about their delivery and where you can find more information. So we're starting to see the fruits of that labor, and we thank the community that's already participated, and we want to bring more folks in to that exercise to make sure everybody's feeling heard.
So this prioritize round that's open right now, manually, is for which release?
The ideas being prioritized now will be ones that the teams will work on as they're working on the summer 20 release. A lot of them are high effort ideas, so they may not be delivered in summer 20. They may have longer development cycles.
Okay. So if you want to actually go in and participate in the early rounds and say you were there at the start, or part of the start, you can go to sfdc.co/prioritize ideas, and that's with a capital P and a capital I for ideas. And the link will be in the show notes if you just want to click on something quickly and go to that chatter post that Scott mentioned.
Perfect.
The other thing you're doing, I mean, you and I met in person for the first time at Midwest Dreaming this last August, which was fantastic. And we talked at the beginning how you're going through all these other events. What are you doing at these events, and what do you have coming up?
Yeah, I think the best part about this whole experience has been out engaging with the community at different admin, dev groups, the Dreaming events, because one, we're trying to, get the story out that, hey, we're actually doing something with the IdeaExchange. But more importantly, we're using those opportunities to have discussions and have the community influence how we're approaching this program and what we're building into the new IdeaExchange website. So we've been doing, focus groups and interactive presentations to get that feedback, literally all over the world. And it's been great to get, folks who've been heavy IdeaExchange users and folks who don't even know what the IdeaExchange is, but are, hungry to engage and provide feedback to help us think differently about how we can really reimagine the experience of providing feedback through the IdeaExchange.
When we talked at Midwest Dreaming, I really liked it because it wasn't just, hey, here's the PowerPoint presentation talking about what you guys are doing. You really allowed us to open up and kind of put your feet to the grill, so to speak. I think I even threw out an idea example. Hey, here's an example of feedback sucking. So if people want to come and do that and give, share their mind with you, do you have any other events other than Dreamforce that you want people to be aware of that you're going to be at?
Yeah, we've got a couple coming up. On September 17th, we'll be in London at the admin community group meeting. And then October 19th, we'll be at North African Dreamin' in Casablanca, Morocco.
Wow.
Yeah, excited about that. But yeah, 2 in-person opportunities to do it. And then we also have our chatter group on the Trailblazer community, the IdeaExchange Reimagined chatter group. And so we've been getting a lot of great feedback through that channel as well. And, you provided a great example. Other folks are dropping in either ideas or scenarios that are super useful for our teams to take a look at as we, work through the product and the program. So happy to receive feedback there as well.
So I'm going to throw a wrench real quick. I apologize in advance.
Bring it. Bring it on.
So there is a large amount of content at Dreamforce that is live streamed. What do you think the odds are of getting true to the core as something that is actually on salesforce.com/live, just like the keynotes?
Well, that's a really good question. I will certainly make the ask. The live streaming machine, so this is now going to be my 12th Dreamforce. It's amazing to me how much of that content we push out live because not everybody can join us in San Francisco in November. So I don't know the concrete plans for live streaming true to the core. We certainly have no objections to streaming true to the core. So it will just be figuring out the technology. I'll need to pull, I'm sure, expertise from all of you on all this streaming technology so we can think about how we do it. But we'll make the ask. And so I will consider that you logging an idea for us to live stream true to the core. And I'm committing to come back to you with a thorough response on what we're going to do with that. I'll come back to the podcast community to say if we're going to do that or not. At a minimum, we record the session and post it after. So if anybody wants to go and see last year's, watching us be very uncomfortable on stage, having just then had Steve Mo's post go up, you can go get some history on the IdeaExchange and what we're working on and our sort of priorities there. And we'll, at a minimum, post the recording of the session this year for anybody who's not available. But I will pull strings for live streaming because that would be fun. It'd be great to engage more of the Ohana that aren't able to be in the room.
Worst case scenario, Mark, maybe I'll sneak into the front row with my laptop
Periscope.
and do it's Periscope and maybe a YouTube live thing.
Yeah, there you go.
I love it. Just go guerrilla style on.
Yeah, that won't be awkward at all. It will look very much Blair Witch. Like, I'm so afraid. What ideas are coming now?
This will be my first time I won't be at Dreamforce in 10 years. And so if that'd be live streamed, I'd be happy.
So really, this is just a live stream for you. We could just stream it for you.
Yeah,
and it's,
pretty much.
Yeah, no, we'll see what we can do. I know
this is my transparency and how I make decisions about how I interact with people.
I love it. See, good dialogue. We're playing out that scenario. Brett and Parker are committed and coming and going to engage in a dialogue. And I know people have some concerns that we're just going to turn true to the core into an IdeaExchange conversation. And so I want to allay any fears about that. We still will talk about roadmap. And I'm going to be doing a call for questions with the community on what do you want to ask Parker and Brett as leaders of our technology and product stacks? You know, what are some of those tough questions that we can bring to them? Because true to the core, I think, is all about that authenticity. It's about that dialogue, answering the tough questions, having that discussion. So we want to keep that going for another year at Dreamforce.
So Brian, then I'm expecting you to come with a scroll of questions for Parker.
We've been asking people to submit a question for Parker Harris for 2 years now?
Pretty much.
Something like that. And I think we gotten like 3 over the couple of years. So seriously, folks, we want your questions. You'll find the link in the show notes, and we'll tell you the link in the outro. Like we've done for the last 2 years, we want your questions because one way or another, they're going to get to Parker. Even if I'm literally bringing a rolled up piece of paper and running through the security line, doing that dive to go answer these right before they, haul me out.
Yes. Watch out for security. But yeah, I'm enjoying imagining a scene of just a roll of paper sliding across the floor because it's so long with all of its questions. But yes, get questions in, give them to us. We want to make sure this is reflective of the community voice. It's not about Salesforce. It's all about you guys.
So other than the chatter group, how else can people reach out to you?
Scott, do you want to give your phone number?
I was thinking Twitter account since you put it in in your notes.
415.
Yes.
I got
Twitter. Find our Twitter accounts. Can you link them below? I'm pointing down like I'm on YouTube right now, but we can link our Twitter.
Yeah, they're going to be in the show notes.
Excellent. Yes, find us on Twitter. We love interacting with the community. I know not everybody spends a ton of time on the Trailblazer community day to day, so find us on Twitter. I'm also happy to give my email address to anybody who wants to reach out. I know not everybody's comfortable in public forums giving feedback or engaging in a dialogue. I am always looking for people who want to have a one-on-one chat with us, who want to sit down and really dive into some use cases. Scott and I are representing a much larger team of people who are working on this project. So Peggy and Carly and David, who are all working hard on this, they have had so many one-on-one small group workshops, really bringing the community in for that deep dive. So fair warning, if you reach out to me on Twitter or email, I'm generally likely to ask you for a follow-up meeting so we can listen and get more input. But yeah, bug us on whatever channels. We love it. We love talking to the community.
And before you go, Scott, I have to bring this up because it tickles my pride and ego way too much. You reminded me that before you got hired at Salesforce, you actually listened to our podcast as a way to prep for your interview.
I did. Guilty as charged. No, I mean, we are, I was joining the team that used to be called the voice of the customer, function. And I thought, what better way than to actually hear the voices of our customers by listening to podcasts? And so this was definitely one where, when I first turned it on and you guys were kind of riffing, I was like, wait, is this the right podcast? Are they going to talk about Salesforce stuff?
See, I told you, Mark, we should start at the beginning that we're a Salesforce podcast and then do the riff.
Yeah, I stuck with it though, and then I, totally felt dialed into the Ohana. So super appreciate you guys.
This is like a full circle moment. They helped you get your job, and now we're here answering to their feedback.
Despite our best efforts, you still got that job.
Huge endorsement.
We're desperate. We'll take anything. Jennifer and Scott, thank you very much for coming today and talking about the IdeaExchange. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do at Dreamforce with the prioritization and all the improved communication that is going to be coming out and hopefully continuing to improve and push. And I want to also thank the team and just Salesforce in general, because to be quite seriously, Steve posted that kind of skating idea out there.
It was basically like the rant from Network. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yeah, but the team is actually listening. And then that's more than I can say in a lot of other places who simply don't listen, just try to temporarily placate their customers. So I think you guys are doing a great job, and I'm really looking forward to see how things kind of pan out over the next few months.
Thank you. And I think our big message to the community is we hear you and we are working on it, and please keep giving us feedback. We are not going to stop after our Dreamforce launch and say we're done. We are going to immediately move on to rebuilding the voting platform, which is the site you experience today. Day to day as you're working through challenges or giving feedback. So there's lots to come. We'll have to come to a part 2 of this podcast,
please,
Dreamforce, to talk about what's next. So we'll just be your repeat guests that are here, every once in a while. But yeah, it's amazing. This community is amazing. It's great being on the road. You're the nicest people, all of you, even when you're mad at us. So, so thank you, and keep it coming. Keep it coming. I get nervous when you stop talking to us. I'm like, who else are they talking to? Are they talking to other CRMs?
Are they ghosting us?
Yeah.
Jennifer and Scott, we should have you come back when we do our IdeaExchange highlight episode.
Yes, please. We'd love to give you some behind the scenes on the conversations. Maybe we can drag a PM or two on to talk about their ideas. And we know where they live. We know where they work. So we'll bring them.
Which is another plug. So folks, how we ask you every episode to go submit an idea you want us to highlight. Now you really have a better reason to submit an idea for us to highlight.
Yeah.
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 And of course, if you're listening today, which is September 9th, or prior to the September 22nd, you need to go out and do that prioritization now. Even though it's manual and the process is going to get better, you want to take the opportunity to provide your feedback today, because it's going to be what's driving at least part of the platform going forward.
Yes, do it. Get your voice heard. Make sure you're part of deciding what the future roadmap is. So it'll look a little fancier the next time you see it, but definitely we want to make sure we're starting work. We don't want not having a site to stop us from delivering the features our community wants us to see. So yes, go prioritize, go rank.
WizardCast is produced by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, directed by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, technical administration by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, script writing by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, audio editing by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, website maintenance by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, and our intern this episode was Adam Olshansky.
You could be an intern too. Just follow us at WizardCast_pod on Twitter.
Or you can share pictures of us that you take at Salesforce events and we'll get you added to the list.
Have a joke, interview suggestion, or other comments? Let us know. You can call and leave a voice recording at 608-492-0321 or email wizardcast@thewizardnews.com.
And as we said earlier, we want to hear from you. If you have a question that you would like to ask Parker Harris, let us know.
Submit your question by going to bit.ly/ParkerQuestions and fill out our short form.
And we will do another Idea Exchange highlight, and maybe we'll have Jennifer and Alan back to provide something. That would be amazing. But we need to know what ideas you would like us to talk about.
Go to bit.ly/idea highlight to submit that idea to us.
Don't forget to subscribe to the WizardCast and receive our next episode automatically.
And please post reviews on Apple Podcasts, aka iTunes, and share this episode. It helps others to hear what you just had to endure.
Once again, I'm Brian.
I kind of wish I could be going to Casablanca. I mean, the problems of two little podcasters don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon for the rest of your life.
Thanks for listening.
We'll always have Paris, Vietnam.
God, that accent.
That's not even my most fun one.
Oh, God.
All right, you didn't say I didn't warn you. That's a great question. Is that supplying for the work class 42?